Nearly a decade after that frozen morning in Boulder, the case had not grown quieter. It had grown heavier. Time did not soften it. It sharpened it. The house was sold. The family moved. Reporters drifted in cycles. Anniversaries, leaks, documentaries. But the questions never left. And in the shadows of that unanswered crime, something else began to unfold. A second chapter defined not by what happened in the basement, but by what happened after. In 1999, a grand jury had quietly examined the case for over a year. Witnesses testified. Evidence was reviewed. The public waited. When the district attorney announced that no indictment would be issued, it sounded like closure. It wasn't. Years later, court records revealed that the grand jury had actually voted to indict John and Patsy Ramsey on charges related to child abuse resulting in death and being accessories to a crime. The district attorney declined to sign the indictment, citing insufficient evidence to secure a conviction. That revelation cracked the case open again. To some, it confirmed long-held suspicions that authorities believed someone inside the home was responsible. To others, it demonstrated prosecutorial caution, proof that even after months of review, the evidence could not support a trial. It was a legal limbo that only deepened the divide. In 2003, new forensic testing identified a profile of unidentified male DNA found in JonBenét's clothing. The sample did not match John, Patsy, or their son. For supporters of the intruder theory, this was the breakthrough they had been waiting for. 5 years later, in 2008, the Boulder district attorney publicly cleared the Ramsey family, stating that the DNA evidence pointed to an unknown male suspect. The exoneration letter was direct. The family was no longer under suspicion, but even that announcement failed to unite opinion. Critics argued that the DNA could have been transferred innocently, through manufacturing, packaging, or secondary contact. Supporters insisted that it proved an outsider had been present. The same piece of evidence became two entirely different stories, depending on who examined it. In 2006, a man named John Mark Carr surfaced with chilling claim. He had killed JonBenét. He provided details. He spoke of obsession. He said the death had been accidental. Authorities arrested him overseas. Headlines exploded. For a brief moment, it seemed the mystery might finally unravel. Then the DNA results came back. He did not match. The confession collapsed. Another false lead. Another emotional whiplash for a case already saturated with speculation. For John Ramsey, it meant reliving the nightmare yet again. Hope rising just enough to make its fall more painful. Years passed. The spotlight shifted. In 2016, on the 20th anniversary of the murder, renewed attention fell on Burke Ramsey, JonBenét's older brother. A televised special presented a theory that childhood conflict may have triggered a tragic accident, followed by a parental cover-up. The program reignited debate instantly. Burke, now an adult, denied any involvement in a rare public interview. The Ramsey family filed a defamation lawsuit, asserting the theory was reckless and unsupported. The lawsuit was later settled. But once again, the case proved something unsettling. Even decades later, it could still fracture public opinion overnight. Supporters of the intruder theory continued to revisit the physical evidence. The broken basement window, the suitcase positioned below it, the lengthy ransom note written inside the home, the garrote constructed from materials found there. They argued that someone had hidden inside the house during a Christmas party, waiting for the family to sleep. They pointed to the unidentified DNA as the central clue.
Skeptics countered with equal force. Why would an intruder write such a long note? Why demand a ransom, yet leave the body? Why stage a kidnapping that never occurred? Each question seemed to cancel out the other. The more experts analyzed the crime, the more it resembled a mirror maze, every path reflecting a different version of truth. Lost in the theories was something simpler and more devastating. A child had died. Patsy Ramsey passed away in 2006 from ovarian cancer, never seeing a resolution. John Ramsey has continued to advocate for new DNA testing, urging authorities to apply modern genetic genealogy techniques that have solved other cold cases. He has spoken openly about grief, about how trauma freezes time. For him, JonBenét is not a headline or a theory. She is a daughter whose voice stopped mid-sentence. And perhaps that is the cruelest twist of all. The loudest debates surround the quietest victim. Advancements in forensic science have changed the landscape of cold cases. Genetic genealogy, using public DNA databases to identify relatives of unknown suspects, has brought answers to crimes once considered unsolvable. Many now ask, could the same approach identify the source of the unidentified DNA in JonBenét's case? Some investigators have called for renewed testing under independent oversight. Others caution that the DNA sample may be too limited or contaminated for definitive genealogy. The science offers hope, but hope has flickered before. Nearly 3 decades later, the JonBenét Ramsey case endures not just because it is unsolved, but because it sits at the intersection of wealth, media frenzy, forensic ambiguity, and parental grief. Every theory feels plausible. Every theory feels incomplete. Some see staging. Others see intrusion. Some see accidental tragedy. Others see calculated brutality. The evidence remains the same. Interpretation does not. Christmas night in 1996 began like countless others. Family, celebration, anticipation of morning joy. By dawn, it had become one of the most infamous crime scenes in American history. Part 2 of the story is not about what happened in the basement. It is about what happens when certainty never comes. It is about how suspicion lingers longer than snow. It is about how a single unanswered question can echo for generations. And somewhere within preserved evidence, aging files, and strands of DNA, the truth still waits, silent, patient, and unresolved. Until it speaks, the case will remain what it has always been, a tragedy frozen in time.